Okay, ladies, I'm back. As promised, I'm going to walk through a journal page. One thing I didn't mention on the supply video was masking tape. There's a lot of great uses for masking tape on your page, so it's something worth investing in. The other thing I did not mention, apparently I left a lot out, is I buy rolls of brown paper at Hobby Lobby. It's the paint paper you can put down for painting. And I work on that, and I also tear sheets and put it behind the pages I'm journaling so it doesn't bleed onto the page behind it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of masking tape and I'm just going to stick it down the middle over the seam so that we don't have any paint bleed through. It's not a must, but it's something I like to do so my design, my colors don't leak onto another page. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go ahead, as we talked about before, and I'm going to gesso the page. I just squirt a little bit, if I can get it open, right on the page, just kind of liberal with it. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy wash brush, get a little bit wet, and I'm going to put this on. Okay, I've gessoed the page now. I used my heat dryer to let it to dry it, so it's pretty dry now, and I'm ready to add my first layers. I'm going to use some tissue paper, the Tim Holtz that I showed in the supply video. I'm going to use some of that. I think I like to use gold graphics on my background. I really love this one. It's got music and butterflies and all sorts of lovely things. Just going to lay some out on the paper. Kind of look at where I want it. A little bit there. I don't cover the whole page. And I'm also going to pull out some scrapbooking paper and use some of these, one of these prints, if I can find one I like. And I'm having decision issues here. I think I'll just go with the striped one. I like that. That'll work fine. Again, I'm just gonna tear some pieces off. I never really use the whole piece. See what I think about that. Maybe here. I'm not gonna necessarily cover the whole page. You certainly can, but I'm not going to with this one. And maybe a little bit there. Okay, I've kind of figured out what I want to do with the paper. And so I'm gonna go ahead and use the matte medium to attach it to the page. You can use Mod Podge here as well. One thing I would say about the Mod Podge is put a layer of Mod Podge under and put a layer of Mod Podge over. So I'm going to put these down. I'm going to go ahead and dry this and we'll move on. Okay, I've dried this. As you can see, my brush was a little dirty because my water was a little dirty. So no worries, because I'm going to paint over that. I'm not concerned about that. So we'll just live with that. I'm putting my colors down right now that I want to work with. I'm going to work with blue, a green, maybe a little teal, and a little bit of magenta. Tends to be my colors right now. I see those are coming up a lot in my pages, but that's okay because that's what I like to work with. It's one of my favorite colors. I'm also going to put a good glob of gesso down on my palette because I will have some uses for that that I'll show a little bit later. So I've just put a little bit of each color on my palette to work with, not a lot. I could always add more. I try to just start with a little so that I don't waste paint. So then I just start laying color down. I don't necessarily cover the whole thing. I just kind of start putting color on. I typically will start, I'm gonna grab a rag real quick. I typically will start on an outside edge and just start working in. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna kind of go through that a little bit. So I would just grab the blue, start pulling in, letting it go. And then what I'm probably gonna do here, see I've got a harsh line, is pick up some gesso, the white stuff, and just start blending. I'm kind of getting a little, I tend to work in X's, and then I'll probably just take my fingers and start. This is the fun part. You can do this with a brush as well, but I really like getting my hands in the paint, so let's do that and just kind of play with it. Lay more color on, pick up some more blue. I want a little more darkness toward the edge. Lost some of the really bright to the blue because I've got gesso on my brush, but that's okay, we can come back to that. So I'm just gonna sit here and I do that. I'm gonna rinse my brush and change colors. You can change brushes or you can use the same brush, switch colors. Actually, I'm gonna pull up a different brush. This is just one of those cheap little chip brushes. I buy these in the pack at Michael's, super cheap. So I grabbed some green, but I grabbed some gesso with it immediately. And then I just start, when I get ready to pull the colors together, I really pick up heavy on the gesso. And here's where the baby wipe can come in handy. See, I've got a really kind of harsh line right here. Not the end of the world because we're gonna cover it up with so much stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab a baby wipe and show you what you can do with that. Okay, so I've got the baby wipe here, and I just want to kind of pull some of this color, so I just rub it carefully with the baby wipe and see, it just kind of blends it in. Pull some of the color off and just till I get the look I want. So I just kind of keep doing that along the edge, really soft edge. I may leave some white places on my page, I don't know. Anyway, this is gonna go into fast forward mode again while I put a little more color on, and we'll come back and talk about next layers. Okay, I've got my first layer of paint down. I got a couple edges coming up, so that's fine. I'm just gonna get a little brush and stick a little more medium on there and try to get them down. Then I'm gonna start building up my next layers. So, I mean, you can start with just this with the journaling. You've created a background with your paint. You can start journaling. I'm gonna keep adding layers. That's part of it. I just really enjoy building up those layers. Regarding the journaling, this is just, art journaling is very, very personal. Sometimes I'll write things. I usually write in a real loose script, not really meant for anyone to read sometimes. Sometimes right now is when I'll do it. If I've got something that maybe is bothering me that I just want to put down, I'll get it on the paper and then I'll paint over it, cover it up. But it's there. It's there. It's on paper. So it's very therapeutic. But it's really meant to be a way to journal feelings, thoughts, or just it's a place to create. So, you know, do what you feel comfortable with. I kind of have a formula I always follow when I journal, when I work on my art journal. And it's kind of what I'm going through today. It's putting down some paper, putting down some paint. The next thing I'll do is pull out stamps and background stencils to start adding some design elements there. So I'm going to grab a couple stencils real quick. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use a couple things that I showed in the video, some found objects. So I've got an old credit card here, and I'm going to take some gesso and put a little more down because I've got a lot of colors mixed into mine. I really want just white. And show you some of the things you can do with a card. So I've got an old card. I'm going to take the paint and I'm just going to kind of pick some up. And I'm going to just go to the paper and I'm just going to scrape it down the page. And it'll leave behind just kind of a, I don't know, it's almost like a finish on a wall. Just scrape it, leave a little white paint here and there. The other thing you can do is get paint just right on the edge and just do a nice line. I love to use lines, so I will do this a lot. I will take that and just go to town and make lines like so. So you can do that and do that. So that's what I'm going to do there. Then I think I'm going to pull a little bit of, I'm trying to come up with another color I want to throw on here. Maybe a little bit of burnt umber. And this is that punchinella, I think it's called, that I was mentioning earlier. I like to use that. You can use a paintbrush or a sponge. I'm going to get a little bit of umber, raw umber, some brown, just a touch. Add a little bit of brown. Not sure how that's going to look, but that's part of the fun. If I don't like it, I'll just wipe it off. I'm going to grab a sponge. Let's see. You can use your brush to do this too, a paintbrush. Just get it real flat and kind of pounce at it. Spray, ink sprays also work great. That's fine. I'm going to leave it. I don't know if I'm wild about it, but it'll work. That's the way I always kind of look at this. It'll work in. The underlying paint is probably not as dry as I'd like. So I'm just going to stick a few little... Bubble wrap also works great. You can put paint on bubble wrap and do that on your page. It's fantastic. One of my favorites. I need to get some. Got lots of shipments over Christmas, but now Amazon's using these puffy bags instead of bubble wrap. So no bubble wrap. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the brown. I'm doing okay with it. I mean, again, I don't know that I'm wild about it, but this is often how my pages go. I just kind of randomly go at it, and I usually end up with something I'm happy with. Even if I'm not, it's okay because I created. I spent some time playing and creating. So there we go. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we got that. Let me look at stencils, see if I want to put some more down. Can't ever have too many stencils. I love the stencils. Okay, yeah, I've got one in my use. Tim got me several stencils for Christmas, so he knows my love language. Got this little one. And I'm going to use inks with it, kind of demonstrate how spray inks work. Now, you can buy inks, or you can mix up your own. I'm going to use this one. It's Dilution Spray Ink. And you just hold it up. You can also use, oh, that came out really, you might want to, oops, there we go. I'm getting it everywhere but on the page. It's really got a spray range, so I ended up getting outside the stencil. That's fine. Lift it straight up, and I got that little design there. So, and I'm going to do another one down here, I think. I think I sprayed Tim's camera stand. He's not going to be thrilled about that, but yeah, okay. I'm okay with that. I'm going to wipe the stencil off, and I probably need to clean up the paint that is squirted everywhere else, so I'm going to do that real quick, and I'll be right back. The stencils I usually just wipe down with one of my baby wipes. My stencils get pretty grungy, and that's okay. They still work. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup and be right back. Okay, I think I cleaned up most of the mess. word of warning on those spray paints. You may want to have a good covered area before you use them. That really went all over the place. I have not really used these much. I just got them, so I wasn't familiar with the bottle, but that's okay. So I've let it dry a little bit. I'm going to take my pen out and add just some doodling. I'm not really going to put words down yet, just a little bit of doodling, loose words. This page I'm really kind of thinking about the battle of the mind and taking thoughts captive. So I'm going to doodle a little bit some words that are words that I need to take captive. I'm going to make it real loose, not necessarily real legible, but I'm just going to put some things down that, you know, are things I'm thinking of and struggling with. So I'm going to do that. Then we'll continue on. So I just, again, real loosey-goosey. Not really anything someone would necessarily read. Little things that I'm thinking about that I really need to control in my mind. So words, I did put one of them I share with this comparison. I think as women, you know, we tend to compare ourselves, and in the creative environment that happens, and I think when we journal, that's something I really want to encourage you not to do, is to be comparing yourself with each other, because this is really about, the one thing I love about art journaling is there's no end goal. I'm not trying to create a piece of art that I'm going to hang up. It's just very personal. Every time I start, I don't really know where I'm going with it, but I just let the process happen. And when we start comparing ourselves to others, that is where it can kill the joy of this for us. I do love to look at other people's work. I get a lot of inspiration from that. I've learned great things from other people. But when it becomes a comparison to where you lose your confidence, that's when it's bad, because this is meant to be something fun and enjoyable, and really it's very personal, and it's great to share it, but it's really meant to be creative expression, picking up new skills, and just doing something you enjoy. So I've put a few words down here. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I could add a stamp or two. I think I will, just to kind of show how that works on the page. I may end up with way too much stuff on this page trying to demo different techniques, but got my stamp pad out, and my doily stamp, as I call it. I love this one. I use it a lot. I'm just going to get a good amount of ink on part of it, and I'm just going to take it down to the side and lift it, and it just left a little bit. I didn't even get the whole image. Again, if you're really wanting a clear-cut image on one of these on your page, you want to stamp it onto some tissue paper and then add it to the paper. You go right to the middle. A little better image that time. It's all good. And maybe one more down here at the very bottom. And since I've already inked it, I'm just gonna hit a few other places. So that'll be that. Now I really want to put my focal images on. I have some stencils that I think are really appropriate for what I'm wanting to convey here. Sometimes your focal can just be a big word. Sometimes it can be a stamped image. You can stick a photograph on here or something you cut out. Anything really goes. I'm going to use a couple stencils I have that are new because they're fitting. I really love this stencil because it's cut out of a face, a head, and just lots of things in her mind, and that's really kind of what I'm thinking about, is just taking thoughts captive. So I'm going to lay it down. I'm probably going to use a sponge and paint because I really want it to be dark. I don't want the splattery look of spray. I really want some strong definition there. So I'm going to pick up some black paint actually and grab my little sponge. It's kind of grungy, it's falling apart, but You can also use a foam brush for this. Works great. I'm hoping this works out. Otherwise, I'll be pulling out the wipes like crazy. Somehow I've picked up some maroon paint. Oh well, happy accident. Yeah, it's right next to the black, so it's just kind of jumped on there. So I'm really going to press this down. Oops, got off the page a little bit. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this. This is a lot of black right in the middle of the page. We're going to go with it. Filling the stencil pretty good. I'm not getting a complete total coverage. You can actually tape this down if you want to make sure it stays in place. You can use a piece of, you can put masking tape around the edges to really give it a good stick down. Let's see what happened. Okay, that's good. I mean, I'm good with that. We'll leave it as is. So we got a good stamp there. And then the other one I wanted to put on the other page because this is an area that I'm really worrying about focusing on taking captive the thoughts about is self-image. And so I've got this great outline of a body. And I'm going to also do the same thing. I'm just going to go with the black. And I'm going to go ahead and have a little fast forward segment here while I get this all stenciled on. Then I'm going to dry it all and then we'll keep going. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Okay, I've got those on and dried, so I'm happy with how that looks. I'm going to add a little more doodling. I've got these wonderful little fine line bottles that I love to use. You put paint in them, you dilute it with water or airbrush medium. That's what I use because I've used water too and it works fine. It does affect the paint a little bit, so I've started using airbrush medium more than water. But they have this wonderful, so you put any color paint you want in there. And they have these wonderful fine tips. Let me make sure I get it going. So you can write with them. And again, I'm just going to put some words on here and then I'm going to do some larger words. So I'm going to go ahead and add some thoughts. Again, I'm just going with a loosey-goosey writing. I'm putting on here something that I actually heard at church tonight. It's called, and the guy said, freedom is a process. So true. Freedom from anything we struggle with is a process that the Lord can walk us through. So then I'm just going to add some drops. Just squeeze it and shake it here and there. Add a few drops here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and dry this part and come right back. Okay, I think I'm about ready to put final touches on this. This is one of those things you can keep going and developing your design as you like. I'm kind of hitting a place where I feel like I'm getting finished. Yeah, I think I'm getting there. I want to add some wording here, some really large wording about take captive every thought. So I'm going to grab a pen and do that. Let me find the pen I'm looking for. A nice big black pen will do. I've got an India ink pen that I love. This is a favorite pen of mine for large writing. It's from Faber-Castell. It's a India ink pen, black, and it works beautifully on layers. It really stands out. So looks like I've got some white paint that is not totally dry. So actually, I'm going to hold off for a few minutes. We're going to go into fast forward mode and I'm going to do a little more drawing. Then we'll come back. Okay, I think that's dry enough. Yeah, still not quite there. When acrylic paints in general dry really fast, but when you've added another medium, in this case, I've added some airbrush medium, which stays wet much longer. It's taken a little longer to dry. So what I may do is use some masking tape to journal on. Let's see. Gotta think about this. This is where the fun goes, where I don't really know where I'm headed with the page. And so might no, not loving that. We're going to scratch that idea. Pronto, if I can get it off the page. Well, we may be stuck with it. Yeah, I'm not loving that idea. Sometimes the masking tape is great to put down to add some journaling and things, but I'm really not feeling it there. I'm just going to go ahead and go for it with the Pitt pen, and we're going to see what happens. May smear my paint, may not. We're just going to see. I know I want the word captive to be really big right here. And I picked up some white paint on my dots. One thing I will say is if you dilute your paints with water, it's still going to dry really fast. This airbrush medium is really, really giving me grief. So I'm going to do now, on the lettering, if you're not comfortable with your own handwriting, you can always do it with pencil, or as I said before, use stamps. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll get my script and then I'll take my pen and just fill in some places to give a little thickness in a few places. I'm trying to stay out of the white paint there. So I'm going to add a little bit of extra thickness to a few places here just to thicken it up and really... I did pick up a little white paint, so I'm just going to brush the and then I'm going to take just in a captive and every and thought. A little further over than I'd like, but hey, again, it's all good. Happy little accidents, as Bob Ross would say. Gonna thicken up a few lines. That's one thing I love about the Pitt pen. It has a nice thick edge on it, so you can do that. So I've got the lettering done. I'm just gonna take and add a few more finishing touches, and we're gonna call it done. To do that, I just go back to some of my favorites. I might add a little more, a few more circles with the Punchinella. Most likely I'm just going to pull the card and pick up a little bit of black paint. Add some black striping up and down the page, just some kind of my standard thing. If you look at my pages, they all really have similar themes because I pretty much do the same process each time. I pull a little black paint there just for the fun of it. Add one more bit of black. So, then the last thing I would probably do somewhere on here is date it. I like to put a date on. I don't always do that, but I really try to remember to. I think I can put it right down here. Today is January the 3rd, 2015. Amazing. And I think with that, I'm done. So I hope you all have picked up a few little ideas watching this. I hope it'll make it helpful for you when we meet. I look forward to seeing you guys that can make it on the 11th to work on our journals. And we'll go over some of these techniques again, and I'll see you then. Have a great night.